bring her home. And Doja Cat is hitting the road for her biggest world tour yet. The Tour Ma Vie trek kicks off in Brazil in February and lands in Detroit on August 1st, 2026. Fans can register now for pre-sale tickets starting October 7th. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The stage is set for MLB's postseason.
How good was that?
October hits different. Watch baseball at its finest. Postseason 2025. Major League Baseball. Trademarks used with permission.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
For the first time in his 8 years with the Lakers, LeBron is entering the season with an expiring contract. LeBron, who turns 41 on December 30th, will be an unrestricted free agent after his 23rd NBA season. Despite LeBron's uncertain future with the Lakers, he told reporters at the Lakers media day that he's not worried about his contract situation. LeBron has a one-year deal with the Lakers for $52.6 million. He gave no indication of a possible timeline for retirement, but he did confirm that he has no intention of waiting to see if his younger son Bryce will reach the NBA. Bryce is a freshman forward at the University of Arizona. Unlike his brother Bronny, Bryce is not considered a one-and-done prospect for the NBA draft in 2026. Bryce could be at Arizona for a couple of years. By that time, it's very possible LeBron's retirement plans will no longer be a mystery. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
I got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, honey.
Whatever.
I got nothing but love for you, baby.
What you got?
I got nothing but love for you, honey.
Whatever.
I got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, honey. I got nothing but love for you, baby.
What you got?
I got nothing but love for you, honey. I got nothing but love for you, baby. I got nothing but love for you, honey. I know you want lots of Jews and stuff. Backyards with swimming pools, bars with stools and stuff, fancy foods, lobster, sushi, yeah, Versace, Gucci, crazy Lucci. I know your ammo, you do demo on a paycheck. You get heard from the verb and show them no respect. Middle name, price tag, first name, gotcha. Start a stroke out on the road, now they can't stop you. Talking about, hey, boo, how you do? Some clown uptown said you ran through with some crew. I give you props and your credit cause it's due. But I ain't that clown and my crew ain't that crew. Time's too hard to be faking like I'm dating on some staking, whining and dining. I ain't tricking on no chicken. Leave it up to me, I close the whole damn store on you. I got nothing but love. I got nothing but love for you, baby.
What you got?
I got nothing but love for you.
Oh, I miss Heavy. I miss Heavy. Heavy D on Tavis, Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this hour. In this hour, two conversations on the back side of this hour. You've probably seen the news about this. It's everywhere right about now. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of the Defense Department, or as they prefer to call it, the Department of War. I hate to say that. The department formerly known as the Department of Defense. How about that? So Trump and Hegseth have summoned some 800 of the country's top brass to a military base in Virginia. And Pete Hegseth has spoken to them. Donald Trump spoken to them. Highly anticipated call up for the country's military commanders. Rare that you'd have 800 generals all assembled in one place. What is that about? What happened inside that room? Why did Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth summon all these generals to Virginia? What did they say in this room? There's some sound now of what actually happened in that room, and why these generals were called back to the U.S. no matter where they're stationed in the world. They were all called home for this all-important meeting. Well, how important was it? What was the meeting about? What was on the agenda? We'll talk about that on the backside of this hour. But for the first 30 minutes, pleased to have a conversation about what it's like covering HHS Secretary RFK Jr. And the arresting, almost daily headlines about the latest news impacting our health. I think I'll start our conversation with this in part because I just said in our first hour, as you well know, we are hurtling inexorably toward a government shutdown tonight unless something magical happens. Between now and midnight, the government is going to shut down. As I mentioned in the first hour, there are some 32,000 plus personnel at HHS alone who are going to be impacted by this furlough, however long it lasts. And so HHS is going to take it hard, as with other agencies and other departments, of course. But just more drama for those who work inside this department, as if dealing with RFK Jr. ain't enough drama itself. So let's jump right into a conversation with Torie Bosch, who is first opinion editor and podcast host for STAT. And I'm also pleased to be joined by Chelsea Ceruso, who's the Washington correspondent at STAT, where she coverage HHS. Torie, good to have you on. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks very much for having us.
And Chelsea, how are you? How are you today?
Great. Thanks again. Yeah, for having us.
Chelsea, let me start with you if I can. I just got 2 minutes here for this first question, and we got a little more time when we come forward here. But I want to just set the frame. So this government shutdown, say it happens tonight at midnight. Talk to me about the impact this is going to have specifically on this department that you cover every single day.
Yeah, of course. Like you said, more than 30,000 employees are expected to be furloughed, which means they won't be working, and they, might not be immediately paid or could expect back pay later. But that also impacts the way health services are delivered to Americans. While programs like Medicare and Medicaid are required to continue to run, so if you do receive either of those, you'll continue to get payments. Things will still be a lot slower because there'll be fewer staff. So you could expect, like the Medicare call center, if you have a question, that won't be able to operate. Certain rulemaking will be delayed. HHS also said it only has funding for Medicaid through the first quarter of fiscal 2026, which is the quarter that we're about to enter. A lot of uncertainty what that looks like. They also said the CDC's communications could be hampered. And of course, while they'll continue to do disease surveillance as they do every year, it does, again, slow things down, especially as we're entering the flu season, cold season, things like that. So the average American could see an impact on them as well.
You're probably asking, why is Tavis talking just about HHS, given that the government shutdown is going to impact a lot of people in a lot of different departments? Because, as we established in our first hour, this is the horse that Democrats are riding when it comes to drawing a line in the sand and making their claim, making their case for why they're not giving Trump at least seven votes that Republicans need to get this budget across the finish line and to extend government services for at least a few more weeks, a few more months. Democrats are riding this issue of health care. That is the issue on which Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, the leader in the House and Senate, and other Democrats are rallying around. We are not going to give this president what he wants to continue gutting health care in this country as we know it. So that's why Torie and Chelsea are on this program to talk about specifically what happens with regard to health care in this country if the government shuts down. They're not just getting started with Torie and Chelsea. More when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Stop settling for weak sound. It's time to level up your game and bring the boom. Hit the town with the ultra-durable LG X Boom portable speaker and enjoy vibrant sound wherever you go. Elevate your listening experience to new heights because, let's be real, your music deserves it. The future of sound is now with LG X Boom. And for a limited time, save 25% at LG.com with code FALL25. Bring the boom. X Boom.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-259-9922. 800-259-9922. That's 800-259-9922.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah. Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation. Your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at kbla1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to kbla1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Torie Bosch, who's first opinion editor and podcast host for Stat and Stat DC Washington correspondent, Chelsea Ceruso. I'm honored to have on this program. Again, we are watching the clock at midnight tonight. The government is set to shut down unless something happens. And a whole lot of government workers are going to be impacted, but more to the point, everyday Americans are going to be impacted. And we are trying to make some sense out of what's going to happen specifically when it comes to the health of fellow citizens, particularly given that 32,000 plus people are going to be furloughed at the health department. So let me come back to you right quick one more time, Chelsea, and I'll bring Torie into this. Give me some more drill down on the impact specifically this shutdown is going to have on everyday people. Particularly, I'm talking now about seniors, the most vulnerable amongst us, seniors, children, etc.
Yeah, again, like I said, federal programs like Medicare and Medicaid will continue to operate, but because of the fewer amount of staff available, major contractors that help run these programs, like, for example, the Medicare call center, or even like state and local programs that help get the word out on how to get on Medicare or get on Medicaid and how to who to ask when you have questions, will be slowed down or just stopped entirely. That's a big one. Over at the NIH, their clinical centers won't be admitting new patients. So care of existing patients, of course, will continue. While at the same time, basic research will pause. So again, just like a major slowdown of, our healthcare system and what it takes to run it.
Yeah. Speaking of what it takes to run it, and RFK Jr. being the person running it at the moment, here is some sound of a recent Senate hearing where RFK Jr. was being taken to task by a number of senators, including Bernie Sanders, Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico, and Raphael Warnock of Georgia. Just take a listen.
There's a big difference, Senator, between established science and the scientific establishment, which has been co-opted by the pharmaceutical industry.
So you're telling the American people that the American Medical Association, representing hundreds of thousands of people, have been co-opted and that they should not trust their doctors. And everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now—
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe President Trump should have asked you, are you a trustworthy person? And we should have waited for an answer then. Let's move on.
I don't even know what you're talking about. You're talking gibberish.
Mr. Secretary, let me speak slowly and clearly so that you can understand me through my New Mexico accent.
And then give me a chance to answer.
Does this help? Can you understand me?
You've been over HHS for 7 months now. Have you ever been briefed by CDC's career immunization officials to discuss your concerns?
And by the way, every member of this panel has criticized President Trump and demonized him.
Have you ever
Are
been
you
briefed?
complicit in the assassination attempts on President Trump?
Sir, I'm asking the questions. You are the witness.
Just a little taste there of these senators trying to get at RFK Jr. in a recent Senate hearing. So, Torie, I want to bring you in this conversation. What is it like covering this guy or attempting to cover him every single day? What's your read of this tension between RFK Jr. and those who have oversight over this department?
Well, as a reality television fan, there's part of me that's a little bit entertained perhaps by the constant drama, but it really is rather exhausting, both for me on the editing side and for reporters like Chelsea, constantly trying to keep up with the newest, side story coming out of HHS.
Yeah. Tell me more about the way that you are covering him every day. I mean, to my mind, every other day it seems there's something outrageous that he says or does. Donald Trump seems to have given him carte blanche and just an open lane to do whatever it is that he chooses to do. He's firing people. He's denying the science. He's taking us in 180 degrees on many of the things that have long been established with regard to science, the way we do things in this country. So just give me a sense of how you go about trying to cover all of that madness.
Sure. So we take sort of a two-pronged approach. On the news side, we have reporters like Chelsea who are just day in and day out working with their sources, developing new sources to find out what is actually happening. To find the news before it becomes the news is what they're the best at in the business over at STAT. I edit our opinion side. And on the opinion side, we're really trying to help people step back from the news just a tiny bit and listen to the perspective of an expert who can help put what's happening in some context and give them some idea of how to think about what's happening. So for instance, after that Senate hearing, Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon wrote a really fantastic op-ed for STAT in which he pointed out that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s approach to chronic disease in children is maybe not what experts would have hoped would be happening around chronic disease in children. So Senator Wyden argued that, and a quote here, when it comes to chronic illness in children, Kennedy has caused a lot of problems he has to answer for, discussing cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, for instance. We run pieces from patients writing about how cuts have affected them personally, pieces from physicians about how increased misinformation is making their job harder, and also pieces that say, on this point, the secretary might have something worth discussing. So we're really careful to try to focus on the evidence-based information and also having an honest, good faith conversation.
So, Torie, what do we make of the fact that's what you all do and the way you do it? Let me get to some particulars now, some specifics. What do we make of the way that healthcare in this administration has become so politicized? If there's anything it ought not to be politicized, it seems to be our health. And yet I can't recall a moment in my career where I've seen discussions about healthcare issues, conversations about the science being as politicized as they are now. What do we make of that, Torie?
From the writers I work with, a lot of them are frustrated. Before the Trump administration began in January, I ran a lot of op-eds from very smart people saying that if we really want to make America healthy again, here are things we can do about ultra-processed foods. Here are things we can do about pesticides and how they affect children. So really trying to find common ground. A lot of our writers have been disappointed that there has not been more attempt to do the work where there is common ground and instead seeing all this politicization of science.
Yep. So Chelsea, same question for you. Since you cover this every single day, what is it like trying to make sense of and write stories that bring us the truth when all of these issues are so politicized?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be pretty extraordinary. I mean, I started as a reporter in health policy in the first Trump administration, and covering the Trump administration, you always had to be prepared for turnover or some chaos. Friday night news dumps are pretty common, but this has been much more keeping me on my toes. So what I think is really important to me is I rely on trusted sources that I've built over the years, doctors, infectious disease experts, and I ask them pretty much everything, every question I have. I implore them to, explain to me like I am 5 why what the secretary might have said isn't rooted in evidence, if that is what the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I also bring those same questions back to the secretary, to his staff. I will say, you said this thing. I asked an expert who said X, Y, or Z. Can you please help me make sense of these? It's important that everybody gets the chance to comment, but of course, I'm always questioning, and I do that with every official I cover. Always question what they say, and not just question it, but try to get to the root of it, the evidence, because we owe that to our readers.
Yeah. Torie, one of the issues that we're covering today is this effort, for lack of a better word, to lower drug prices in this country. The president has had something to say about that today, in fact. And I know that your team is on the Hill covering this right about now. What do we know about, the effort to lower drug prices in this country?
So what we're talking about now is something called Most Favored Nation status, which Chelsea probably knows more about than I do. But over on the opinion side, we have been running pieces about Most Favored Nation status for several months now. One thing that's interesting about it is this is not necessarily an issue, as far as I understand, that cleanly comes down along Democrat and Republican lines. This is discussion about whether we should lower prices to match those of other developed countries. Traditionally, a lot of Republicans and libertarians have wanted to stay hands-off on drug pricing, believing that the market should set its own rates. So that's one sort of intriguing area where we're seeing those traditional divides change a little bit.
Yeah. Chelsea, same question for you. And I should mention that Donald Trump today announced a deal with Pfizer to lower drug prices, including these drugs being sold on the Trump RX website. So I can say this, if Chelsea and Torie can't, the big grift continues. So he announces a deal with Pfizer to lower drug prices, including drugs being sold on his family's website, Trump RX. I repeat once again, the big grift continue. Tell me more about these lower drug prices, Chelsea.
Yeah, so how this all went down, like Torie said, this is part of the Most Favored Nation policy. So back in July, President Trump had sent letters to 17 major pharmaceutical companies and told them they had to lower drug prices in line with what other countries pay. So today, they announced that Pfizer had agreed to a deal that they would receive drug prices comparable to those in other developed countries. And then, like you said, they would launch, they would be able to, use this direct-to-consumer platform to buy these drugs. Of course, what Pfizer gets in return is a 3-year grace period, under which they will not face tariffs. So absolutely a deal between the White House and Pfizer, and in line with this policy that Trump has really always been a huge fan of. Even as his first administration, he wanted the most favored nation policy to move forward, and now we're actually seeing it.
Yeah. The flip side, Torie and Chelsea, of lower drug prices is health insurance prices being more likely than not to rise. Tell me how we should be processing and paying attention to this issue, specifically, Torie, the issue, again, of health insurance prices going up.
Oh, I am not the person to answer that. I'm really sorry.
Chelsea, comment on that?
Yeah, of course. So I think what to watch right now is, of course, what happens with the government funding. And the reason why I say that is you alluded to this earlier, that part of the reason why Democrats are holding out on agreeing to a deal is because they're not happy with healthcare provisions that were passed in the Big Beautiful Bill, which was the big spending package that passed earlier this year. And that include cuts to Medicaid, and that also did not include extended Affordable Care Act tax credits. And what those were premium tax credits that were offered to Americans to help them pay for their health care during the pandemic, that have been extended year after year, but not made permanent. So what this fight in Congress will reveal to us really is where we're going in terms of Americans affording healthcare, in terms of who is able to access Medicaid, which again is the federal insurance program for people under a certain income threshold. So that's something I would absolutely keep an eye on.
Yep. I've been reading a lot about this of late, Chelsea. One final question for you about the way in which RFK Jr.'s public health overhaul is disproportionately putting Black lives at risk. If I had the time, I could go into a lot of ways that's happening, and you know this stuff better than I do. But also things like access to healthcare data. There are digital tools that this White House is bringing online, and that's the era we live in. I get it. But these digital tools are intended, at least, to improve health outcomes, but they could leave aging Black Americans or aging Americans, period, behind if they don't know how to access these tools. So their health ends up being impacted because they don't know how to use these digital tools. And to that, you say what?
So I would say that I think HHS would probably disagree with your characterization, but what you're really getting at is that HHS and the Trump administration as a whole has taken aim at what they see as diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And that includes taking down websites, HHS and CDC websites that directly reference health equity efforts. That includes getting rid of entire offices that focus on health equity, which is making sure everybody receives the same care, including older Black adults, including children. And what that looks like downstream, we're still trying to understand. But yeah, it's certainly an effort that they have made very clear. Of course, like I said, they would characterize it as making sure everybody is equal. But of course, when we see that in practice, it looks a lot different.
It does indeed. Torie Bosch is first opinion editor and podcast host for STAT, and Chelsea Ceruso is a Washington correspondent at STAT. I think them both their insights on this program. Torie, thank you. Chelsea, thank you. Have a great rest of your day. I appreciate you both.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you on. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth slammed DEI and politics in the military during a major meeting in Quantico, Virginia. He said the armed forces must do better.
The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit.
President Trump also spoke, calling the event a chance to highlight military progress. Governor Landry is asking the federal government to activate up to 1,000 National Guard troops to help fight rising crime in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and New Orleans, Louisiana. The year-long deployment would support local police, but approval is still pending. And Reading Rainbow is back after 19 years, streaming on YouTube's Kidzuko channel on October 4th. The show features celebrity guests and aims to inspire young readers. It returns as PBS faces funding challenges. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The stage is set for MLB's postseason.
How good was that?
October hits different. Watch baseball at its finest. Postseason 2025. Major League Baseball. Trademarks used with permission.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
For the first time in his 8 years with the Lakers, LeBron is entering the season with an expiring contract. LeBron, who turns 41 on December 30th, will be an unrestricted free agent after his 23rd NBA season. Despite LeBron's uncertain future with the Lakers, he told reporters at the Lakers media day that he's not worried about his contract situation. LeBron has a one-year deal with the Lakers for $52.6 million. He gave no indication of a possible timeline for retirement, but he did confirm that he has no intention of waiting to see if his younger son Bryce will reach the NBA. Bryce is a freshman forward at the University of Arizona. Unlike his brother Bronny, Bryce is not considered a one-and-done prospect for the NBA draft in 2026. Bryce could be at Arizona for a couple of years. By that time, it's very possible LeBron's retirement plans will no longer be a mystery. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hard rock style is coming to the Central Valley, just 30 minutes south of Bakersfield off Route 99. You'll find world-class gaming and entertainment. Less drive time equals more playtime. The all-new Hard Rock Casino Tejon. Opening soon.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Seems like there's more identity theft in the news every day.
Another major healthcare breach was reported today, resulting in the exposure.
1 in 4 consumers have been a victim of identity.
That's because there are endless places that could accidentally expose you to identity theft, in a breach, or simply by mistake. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it.
But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
You are indeed. I'm glad to have you here. So you saw the news. We all saw the news. It's sort of shocking that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of the Department of Defense, or the department formerly known as the Department of Defense, they want to call it the Department of War. I can't do that. But they summoned some 800 of the country's top brass generals to a military base in Virginia earlier today for a talk. And everybody wants to know, why are all these generals being summoned? And what did Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth have to say to them inside of this meeting? So, got a great guest, my friend and brother Paul Rieckhoff, who can opine on this better than anybody I know. And I'll cut Paul loose here in just a second, but I want to just give you a sense, as this is breaking news, of what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth did say in this gathering today. First, you're going to hear some sound from Donald Trump. You'll segue into a couple of clips from Pete Hegseth, but just take a listen.
I'm thrilled to be here this morning to address the senior leadership of what is once again known around the world as the Department of War. My message to you is very simple. I am with you. I support you. And as president, I have your backs 100%. You'll never see me even waver a little bit. It's the way it is. And that includes our great police officers and firemen and all of these people that are doing so well. Together over the next few years, we're going to make our military stronger, tougher, faster, fiercer, and more powerful than it has ever been before. The apparatus of our country was not set up for merit. It was set up for political correctness. And you can never be great if you're going to do that. And we're going to be greater than we ever were before. We will not be politically correct when it comes to defending American freedom, and we will be a fighting and winning machine. We want to fight. We want to win. Last month, I signed an executive order to provide training for quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control. It won't get out of control. But I want to salute every service member who has helped us carry out this critical mission. It's really a very important mission. And I told Pete, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. As president, I will never hesitate to defend our people from threats of violence, from the horrible plague that's taking place from within.
On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic. It is our duty, consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic leadership is endangering subordinates with low standards. Real toxic leadership is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership is promoting destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence.
Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations or really any formation and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the Joint Force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our Joint Force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already.
All right, Paul, let me just, let me just say one thing or a couple of things it's all yours, man. So my first thought is I have no idea how much money it costs us taxpayers to fly all these generals in from all over the world for this nonsense, number one. I don't even know what the expense was. Number two, I can't imagine what these generals must be thinking. And obviously, my dad was in the military, Paul Rieckhoff in the military. And so, you play your role, but I can't imagine what must be going through their head listening to this idiot. I mean, listening to this kid who has no experience in war talking to them in this way. But then you hear Donald Trump talk about the Department of War, not the Department of Defense, political correctness, using inner cities as training ground. Really? Toxic leaders, fat troops, fat generals. What the heck was this meeting about, Paul Rieckhoff?
Hi, Tavis. I thought we were. I was hoping we could come on and talk about the Dodgers and the Yankees, right?
Not today. Not
I wanted
today.
to come on and talk about Aaron Judge versus Shohei.
Not today.
And you know what? Let me actually build on that.
Yeah.
Because if you think about somebody like Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani, right? You got examples of non-toxic leadership.
Yeah.
Strong leaders, honorable leaders, people who our kids can look up to. And I look at everything through a couple of different prisms, but most of all, I look at it through the prism of my two little boys who are 10 and 6 and growing up in America and are growing up in a very confusing time where it's hard to differentiate what our role models in America are supposed to be like. And you had the commander-in-chief and the secretary, I'm going to call him the acting secretary of defense because he's often acting, behave in a way that defined toxic leadership. And that's really what this was the manifestation of the culture war. And Pete Hegseth is not fighting America's enemies. He is fighting a culture war on behalf of Donald Trump. And this is the manifestation of that. It's the latest iteration of that. You and I think have been talking about this since he was first nominated. Mm-hmm. And I think the really important thing beneath what was kind of like a weird culture war TED talk, right? Mm-hmm. The most important thing for everybody to remember in the midst of all this stuff is that I think the most important story in America and maybe in the world is that Trump is doing whatever he wants with the most powerful military the world has ever known. Mm-hmm. Nothing is stopping him. Nothing is stopping him. And he wants to do more, much more. And he's telling everyone. And he told over 800 of our senior military leaders that what he wants to do is send them into cities. He wants to crank them up. He wants to have this aggressive footing. And what this really was on a very basic level is kind of vintage Trump, because it was broadcast to the entire world. And that tells you everything you need to know. It wasn't about readiness or lethality or even defense. It was about clicks. It was a political power stunt and a show for the cameras. And you can see Hegseth, I think, is a hollow, fragile, unrespected leader that was like pathetically peacocking out in front of the greatest military the world has ever seen, followed by another Trump rant that was inappropriate and ridiculous and rambling. But they got what they want, Tavis.
Yeah.
They got the photo op. They got the clips. They got the generals in a room having to listen to their crap. And it was a massive flex. And everything that Trump does right now is about flexing, consolidating, and building power. And in the end, for America, it's embarrassing, it's shameful, and I think it's a dark and embarrassing moment for our military, but also for our democracy. Because not only are our kids watching, our allies are watching, the world is watching, and our enemies are watching. And our enemies are not afraid of what they saw today. That looks like an America that's being driven into a culture war and a radical bunch of politicians who are pulling it all apart piece by piece.
I want to ask Paul when we come forward what our enemies did in fact see. We're just getting a sense now of what we saw in this gathering today. There'll be a lot of conversation about this, of course, today and the next couple of days, dissecting what Paul is breaking down for us right now. I love his use of the word peacocking. And I thought about the fact, Paul, that peacocks strut because they can't fly. So peacocking is the right word, but don't forget that peacocks strut because they can't fly. Paul Rieckhoff is host of the very popular podcast Independent Americans, amongst some other great work he's doing. We'll talk about that before I lose him at the top of the hour. But more on this issue of all these generals being summoned for this culture war speech, as Paul put it, when we come forward on Tavis Smile.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it?
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your face. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol. To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
My man Paul Rieckhoff's done some amazing work with his media venture, Righteous Media. I celebrate everything he's doing over there. Host of the very popular podcast, Independent Americans, and who better than Paul Rieckhoff, Iraq war veteran himself. And so he knows this stuff better than most. And I always call Paul when I need to talk military issues. And you said something a moment ago that, I mean, no naivete here. We all get this, but I want you to drill down a little bit more on what it really does mean in this moment, Paul, before I get to our enemies, what it really does mean that Donald Trump has control. I mean, every president is commander in chief, but not in the way that Donald Trump is. He has control of the military, the most powerful in the history of the world in ways. He's using it in ways that no president ever has. We're blowing up boats off the coast of Venezuela, where you hear Donald Trump suggesting now we should use the military to do exercises in inner cities as training grounds. He has just an outsized control of this military, as you so eloquently said. What does that ultimately mean?
This is the worst case scenario that folks in national security warned everyone about if Donald Trump was elected president, and especially without guardrails.
Right.
And that's what he's got now. He's got no guardrails. He's got a totally complicit cabinet. He's got a Congress that is either complicit or getting rolled. And he's now so far beyond what is the norm, so far beyond congressional approvals, even for things like acts of war, even basic consultation. So I think we're in the most dangerous scenarios for a president who is unrestrained after open authorized uses of military force. He's emboldened by a compliant and a weak Congress. And let's lay it out specifically. He's hit Iran. He's hit Yemen. He's hit boats off the coast of Venezuela. It's been revealed that in 2019, there was a Navy SEAL operation in North Korea. And he's got the unprecedented domestic deployment of National Guard and federal troops in LA, Chicago, now Portland. That's just this year. It's only September. And they're talking about doing things like hitting Mexico and using our cities for training grounds. So, I'm not an alarmist, but I think we have to be recognizing the fact that this is the most important threat to everything. Mm-hmm. And it can get much worse because there's nothing stopping him, as he's telegraphing in this meeting today, for sending more military troops into more U.S. cities, which I think will further divide us. I think our enemies celebrate that kind of conflict. There's also nothing stopping him from hitting what he calls narco terrorists in Mexico, or using a nuke. Mm-hmm. There's literally nothing stopping him right now, Tavis. And that's why I think this is the most important story, not just in the country, but in the world, because this is Donald Trump with total access to the gun closet and no restraints. That is what we're living in right now. And today was a giant flex of that power.
Is there any line that Donald Trump, I understand how this works. You were in the military. My dad was in the military 37 years. I get it. Again, no naivete here. But is there any line, you mentioned using a nuke. Is there any line that Donald Trump could cross that would get his military generals to push back? To your point, sycophants all around him, unlike the first term. It took him a while, but in the first term, they finally came around to push back on him. Is there any line that he could cross right now, given his control of the military, that would cause the generals to say, okay, enough is enough?
Yes. If he gives them what they determine to be an unlawful order, if he says, extreme example, drop a nuke on a U.S. city, shoot those civilians, right? General Milley famously pushed back as chairman of the Joint Chiefs on things like using troops on civilians in Washington, D.C. I think there actually was a really important silver lining in today, Tavis. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of times where there was absolutely no applause. You could hear a pin drop, and Trump was kind of off balance about it. Hegseth thought he was going to get some applause lines. You saw tremendous professionalism from our generals who had to be there. They didn't like it. It was hugely disruptive. 800 of them from all over the world, plus their staffs on like 4 days' notice. By the way, might be in the middle of a government shutdown, so some of them might get stuck there or either further disrupted. But they maintained what we call the military bearing. So there's been a huge purge that you can't overlook the fact that there was a huge component to remove diversity, to remove women, to remove people of color. He fired the black chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He's constantly crapping on the former Secretary of Defense, who was black. He has executed a purge across the military. And what looked today, especially I got to understand your audience and who we're talking to here. I mean, that was an all-white led group talking to an almost all white military that's talking about going into many black cities. So I understand that there should be significant concern about that because they don't even care about the optics. And I think that's what's most concerning. It looks like they're trying to make a stand that this is Donald Trump's military, which looks more like the Army of the Confederacy than it does the modern American military of 2025, or what it should be.
This is why I love Paul Rieckhoff. He's an independent American, but he is also a truth teller. And this is why he's on my speed dial. Our remaining moments with Paul Rieckhoff when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from Nitsa in the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Well, Rieckhoff, I got 2 minutes left. I want to give it to you. Tell me what our enemies saw today, and then tell me how things are going at Righteous Media.
I think they saw crazy Donald Trump doing crazy things that keep getting crazier. And I think they like to see Donald Trump overextend our military, divide our country, and punch himself out. If I'm China and he's talking about doing all this stuff, I'm licking my lips saying, keep doing it. Keep doing it. We'll just wait. We'll just wait. And Putin loves to see our country divided. You know, we're trying to keep a focus on national security and defending democracy. We're also working to elevate the voices of independent veterans. And I'm working a lot with Independent Veterans of America to find, support, and elect independent veterans. So we have an open call out now. If you're an independent veteran and you want to run not as a Democrat or Republican, but as an independent, even down to school board, we want to help you do it. And I'll end with one thing, Tavis. You know, I think we need to you always say, keep the faith. You have to elevate those leaders who are pushing back. You're obviously one of them. We're elevating others. We've talked a lot about our friend Wes Moore over the years.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's been meeting this moment in a very dynamic way that's important, especially on these national security issues. And if you're looking for some hope, if you're looking for an alternative, I think he's one to watch, support, and defend.
Paul Rieckhoff is the host of the very popular podcast. I've been honored to have been on there in the past called Independent Americans. If you've not heard it, check it out. And he's the founder of Righteous Media. And I know a little something about starting a media company. I know what he's up against. And he's doing a marvelous job against all the odds. And I celebrate, again, all the success of Righteous Media. Paul, good to have you on. Thank you for your insights as always, man. Thanks for taking my phone call on a day like today. I know people are pulling at you, giving all this news about this meeting. So thank you for taking my phone call. I appreciate you, my friend.
Always a pleasure and an honor. Maybe you have me back on to talk when the Dodgers and the Yanks are in the World Series.
Anytime. That's Paul Rieckhoff. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth slammed DEI and politics in the military during a major meeting in Quantico, Virginia. He said the armed forces must do better.
The new War Department golden rule is this: do onto your unit as you would have done onto your own child's unit.
President Trump also spoke, calling the event a chance to highlight military progress. Governor Landry is asking the federal government to activate up to 1,000 National Guard troops to help fight rising crime in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and New Orleans, Louisiana. The year-long deployment would support local police, but approval is still pending. And Reading Rainbow is back after 19 years, streaming on YouTube's Kidzuko channel on October 4th. The show features celebrity guests and aims to inspire young readers. It returns as PBS faces funding challenges. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The stage is set for MLB's postseason.
How good was that?
October hits different. Watch baseball at its finest. Postseason 2025. Major